Hello, hello, everybody. It's me, Vern. Welcome to small group. So this is week 6, beautiful Orthodoxy, and you've got 2 weekends to go in your small groups. I know the holidays are coming. Let's finish strong. Sure has been good to be together. And I hope that some of these relationships carry on. So this last weekend I talked about soteriology, the doctrine of salvation, and I told the harrowing story of rescuing a young man off of the, not a young man, a boy off of the hell-roaring plateau. And I talked about his helmet, how tight he had it on. It was like this or worse. It's all snucked up real tight. When I saw him with it on, I was like, wow, that looks uncomfortable. But the thing is, it literally saved his life. Saved his life. So, we talked about salvation being deliverance. Deliver from danger to safety. Deliver from futility to purpose. Delivered from life without God to life with God. Delivered from hell, delivered to heaven. Delivered from death to life, and on we go. So, how I'd like you to start today is, just concerned that maybe I messed up my hair. The way I'd like you to start today is, would you tell stories of rescue? So, especially a time when you got rescued, and maybe it was life or death, or it would have been life or death if they didn't rescue you. But talk about a time you were rescued. If you don't have a lot of those stories, maybe you could also add times when you rescued someone. That makes you the hero. But I'd like to hear stories of a time when people were rescued. So that'll be kind of fun. Share rescue stories with each other. Okay, welcome back. And now you know who the heroes are in your group. So, in case you're ever in peril, you know who to call out to. We're going to talk about the call for just a moment. So, we talked about how with salvation there's some facts, and there needs to be some agreement to those facts. And then we talked about belief. But with that belief, we talked about it's meaty. There's trust, where you depend on Christ, but then there's also repentance. Okay, remember all that? All right. In that, we talked about the call just briefly, and I'm going to take a little deeper now. Scholars of theology like to designate 2 types of call. There's a general call and an effective call, or the effectual call. General call and effectual call. So here's how that goes down. The general call is just when you share or explain the gospel, the truth, the things that need to be agreed to with somebody. That's just a general call. That actually happens a lot. And if you come to Harvest Church at all, you know just about every sermon you hear the gospel worked in. And after every sermon, towards the end, we make a general call. Explain the gospel and give people a chance. That's called the general call. The effective call, or effectual call, is, as one scholar says, a summons from the King of the universe that nobody turns down. So the general call becomes an effectual call when you respond to that general call with your life. Here's how it happens in hunting, if I may. So in hunting, especially elk hunting, we'll just talk about that for a second. In the rut, we use calls, right? So there's a cow call or there's a bugle, and the intention with that is that the animal will turn and come your way. You're trying to call them in. Yeah, we do this with waterfowl. We can do it with deer. You do it with coyotes, right? The call of a dead rabbit. Sounds just like that. By the way, if you ever want to take me coyote hunting, I can be your caller, because that's what it sounds like. And so the coyote hears that and starts coming your way. So in elk hunting especially, it's kind of a mystery. Sometimes you blow on a cow call and the elk turn and go the other way. Sometimes the bull comes charging in. And salvation's like that. It's kind of a mystery. You can make a general call, a bunch of calls, and nobody responds. And then all of a sudden, somebody responds, and it's nothing different. It's the same call. It's just that they finally responded. The general call became an effectual call. So spiritually, when a person comes in, when a person gets saved, that general call has become an effective call, and they respond with their whole life. All right. So here's what I'd like you to talk about. So you're going to just share a little bit of your story, but it's just brief snippets of it. And that is I'd like you to talk about this. When and how did you hear the general call? So you're going to talk about the times and the kind of progression of you learning about Jesus and about your own sin and about eternity and about what Christ has done for you on the cross. As you learned that, as people put that in front of you, whether you read it or you heard it in a sermon or someone had a conversation with you, or however that general call was happening. And then when did the moment come where it became an effectual call? All right, so talk about the general call being general and then when it became effectual. Now, small group leaders. You got to manage your time on this one. So we're just kind of looking for those moments, some snippets of people's story. But if you go the distance on this, I mean, it depends on how many of you are in the room. It might take a little while. I mean, some of those stories might start to develop, and you'll hear more. So don't rush, and maybe this will even wrap up your small group time together. If not, I'll see you back here in a few minutes. But otherwise, talk about the general call and the effectual call. All right, welcome back, probably. Hope you had a really interesting, fun discussion there. When we talk about salvation, remember salvation or save means to deliver. So it was deliver from and deliver to. And specifically deliver from sin and death to forgiveness and life. So I thought an interesting question would be, which one of those are you more grateful for? Which one do you resonate with more? That you resonate more with, I'm rescued from sin and death, or more with forgiveness and life? But then I thought that was a dumb question. And so what I mean by that is they're so simultaneous. And they're so awesome. It's hard to go like, I think this one's more important than this one or whatever. And maybe you can have that discussion if you want. But it seems like those are so connected that it would be hard to discuss. I like this one better than that one, or more emotional about this one than that one, or more grateful than this one than that one. All right, that then makes me think about this. When we talked about the gospel, when we talked about belief, I talked about how belief is weighty, and it includes trust and repentance. So I'm depending on Christ for my life, for my salvation. But I'm also repenting, which means I'm turning. And remember, that was turn from sin and turn to God. This is why I'm bringing this up, is because it's kind of the same deal again, isn't it? Where I'm rescued from and to. Repentance is a from and to also. I'm turning from my sin and my life of sin, and I'm turning to God and my relationship with Him. So I think, and I made this point in the sermon, that the missing piece a lot of times in people's understanding of the good news of Jesus is the repentance piece. Is that people go up, yeah, I believe that Jesus is there, I believe He's the Son of God, I believe He died for me, yeah, I believe it. And it's not been an effectual call yet, because I think the repentance piece is missing, where you simultaneously turn from your sin and turn to God. All right, so what I'd like you to talk about is repentance. And I'd like you to just be courageous with each other on this one and talk about how you know that you've repented. What's the evidence of that? So you're going to talk a little bit about, I've turned from this way of life, this way of thinking, these sins, and I've turned to God. And this is a progression, and we know that we still mess up. But in general, what I'd like you to talk about is how you know that you've actually repented, turned from your sin, and turned to God. And I hope you'll be an encouragement to one another and cheer one another on with this, as it is a triumph. And we need to be encouraged and emboldened as we daily turn from sin and turn to God. But in salvation, it happened in a moment. And what's the evidence of that in your life? Go ahead and talk freely about that. All right, guys, welcome back. Hope you had a good discussion around repentance and even the evidence of that in each other's lives. We can help each other with that, and I hope you will. I'll talk about one more thing now and have you discuss it. And I want to talk about a word that I don't like, and it's the word conversion. I do not like the word conversion. I don't like the word conversion because of its connotation. Convert. Now, the word is a good word. Conversion just means turning. So when an elk turns towards you, that's conversion. Of course, when I'm out hunting, there's a lot of unsaved elk, I'll just say, because they do not turn to me. But I digress. The reason that I have an aversion to conversion, see what I did there? The reason I have an aversion to conversion is because sometimes I hear people say stuff like, they tried to convert me, or don't try to convert me, or Harvest Church, they're just trying to convert people. The reason they built a water park for the community is because they just want to convert people. I don't like that. You know why I don't like that? It's because we can't do that. It's impossible. We don't convert anybody. The reason that Harvest Church doesn't try to convert people is because we can't convert people. Only God does the converting. Only God does conversion. Only God does the turning. So we don't convert anyone. All we can do is call. So we announce, we call, God does the turning. We give a general call, and that general call might even be, hey, you need to turn. But it is God who does the turning. It is God who does the converting. We don't convert anybody because we can't convert anybody. It is God's beautiful work that He does in a person's life. So, here's what I'd like you to discuss. Not my aversion to the word conversion. I'd like you to discuss who in your life needs to hear the call. I want you to think about maybe just one person, and you don't have to use their name if you don't want to. But it's that person that you want to see God convert. You really want to see them turn from sin and death and experience forgiveness in life. You want them to get saved, to be delivered. And so you're going to make the call. No pressure to convert, because God does that. So I'd like you to share with each other that person, maybe your relationship to them. You can be evasive as you need to, or as bold as you want, whatever's appropriate. And then the reason I want you to do that is because I'd like the group to support you and encourage you in that. Maybe even hold you accountable, like, hey, did you make the call yet? Have you put the call out there? But then especially I'd like you as a group to pray for that person as a group. And let's continue praying until God finally converts that person, saves them. All right? Okay. Let's put the helmet on. Try not to buckle my chin because it's tight. There we go. Saved.